Axiata Group and Digi.com have agreed to extend the current long-stop date for the proposed merger of the telco's Malaysian operations to December 31st this year from June 21st. In filings to Bursa Malaysia, Digi and Axiata said they have agreed to extend the dates by which the conditions precedent, as set out in the share purchase agreement, are to be satisfied or waived in accordance with the terms and conditions of the deal. In April 2021, the two companies announced the proposed merger of Digi Telecommunications and Celcom-Axiata's mobile telecommunication network operations, the second try after previous plans were terminated in September 2019. The merged entity was touted to be a leading telecommunications service provider in Malaysia, with a pro forma revenue of about 12.4 billion ringgit, pre-synergy earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization of 5.7 billion ringgit, and an estimated 19 million customers. Axiata closed down 1.43% to 2.75 ringgit today for a market value of 25.24 billion ringgit, while Digi.com settled 2.15% lower at 3.18 ringgit, valuing the telco at 24.73 billion ringgit. Perak-based lingerie maker Kaylee Holdings is retracting the appointments of fashion designer Datuk Jovian Mandagie as its new executive vice chairman and lawyer Sandraruben Neelamagham as its new independent director. This comes just 3 days after it announced their appointments. In a filing with Bursa Malaysia, Kaylee said this was because the appointments were not put into effect due to miscommunication. The announcement comes after Mandagie alleged that Kaylee made a false announcement to Bursa Malaysia regarding his purported appointment because there were no agreements indicating his acceptance of the appointment. He said in a statement that he has not executed any forms and/or agreements indicating his acceptance of the said appointment and labelled Kaylee's announcement as false, untrue and misleading. He added that Kaylee has tarnished his corporate, business and personal reputation and will be seeking legal advice to pursue all means necessary to report such wrongdoing to the relevant authorities such as Bursa Malaysia and the Securities Commission. Notably, Jovian, who is the creative director of Cheetah Corp Malaysia, is also the son-in-law of Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. Separately, the requisitionists of Kaylee's EGM, which saw the removal of 9 directors and the appointment of 4 new directors, have filed another suit against the company for refusing to recognise and give effect to the resolutions passed at the meeting. A press release issued today by one of the requisitionists, Leong Seng Wee, said that they are seeking for a declaration that the EGM was validly held and also for an injunction to restrain the incumbent board of directors of the company from acting and/or holding themselves as Kaylee's directors. At the close, Kaylee's share price settled down 7.69% at 36 cents for a market capitalisation of about 92.97 million ringgit. Khosan Rubber Industries founder Tan Sri Lim Kwang Sia has in recent days raised his indirect stake in the glove maker after buying 7.06 million shares earlier this week. This was his first Khosan share buy in about 3 months after the Employees Provident Fund or EPF sold Khosan shares on the open market as investors evaluated the impact of the COVID-19 vaccine-led economic recovery on the glove sector. According to Khosan's Bursa Malaysia filings, Lim, who is also Khosan Group MD and CEO, had raised his indirect stake in the company to 47.715% after acquiring more shares this week. According to the company's filings, Lim had bought more shares in the company via his privately held vehicle, Khosan Holdings Malaysia. He also owns a direct stake of 0.275% in the company. Khosan's share price was unchanged at 1.34 ringgit at the close, giving it a market capitalisation of about 3.43 billion ringgit. The share price is down to current levels from 1.86 ringgit on January 3rd. Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation or MATRADE CEO Datuk Muhammad Mustafa Abdul Aziz says despite expectations of strong growth in Malaysia's trade performance this year, the country will be affected by aggressive US interest rate hikes. Mustafa told The Edge it is still premature to comment on the ramifications of the US Federal Reserve's hawkish stance on Malaysia, but said there is a need for Malaysia to work extra hard to push exports and explore new markets. On Wednesday, the Fed raised interest rates by 75 basis points in a historic move to fight inflation that has hit a 40-year high. As for the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Mustafa said the impact on Malaysia's trade performance is not substantial. On the whole, he said he is optimistic Malaysia will see positive growth in trade in 2022, having booked 2.2 trillion ringgit in trade value last year, the fastest pace since 1994. MATRADE is aiming for at least 2 trillion ringgit in trade this year, with expectations that the figure will surpass the previous years. As of May, Malaysia's 2022 total trade has breached 1 trillion ringgit. Paris Baguette Singapore, owned by South Korea's SPC Group, will be investing 130 million ringgit to develop its first halal-certified bakery manufacturing and distribution centre in Johor. According to Bernama, the facility will span 16,500 square metres and will be located at the Nusa Jaya Tech Park. Construction is scheduled to begin in the third quarter of 2022 and the facility is slated to be operational in June 2023. It will manufacture about 100 food items to supply to Paris Baguette outlets in Southeast Asia countries, including Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia and Indonesia. The facility will also serve as a production and distribution hub to supply to future halal markets, such as the Middle East countries. It is expected to create close to 100 new job opportunities. The group also aims to build an additional global manufacturing and distribution centre in Malaysia to expand its production.